Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, Cam, two-hand monster flush off the inbound. Ryan, Cam, slam, jam.
Subscribe to us on Podbean, the Apple Podcast Store, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at TheFinalScore35 and TikTok at AGSpartanFan35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
At long last, how long was it? 5 weeks? The nightmare is over. Michigan State won a football game. The Lions didn't lose because they didn't play. Happy 7th anniversary to, whoa, he has trouble with the snap. Never will forget that. It's all over social media. No one will ever forget it. Amazing. Lots going on. Some upsets in baseball. Yankees and the Indians, not the Guardians, they're playing tonight. Game 5, decide who's going to the ALCS to join the Astros. Then in the NL, we've got the Phillies and the Padres, 2 upsets there. Pretty crazy. But yeah, here we are. NBA starts tomorrow, I believe. Hockey, we're getting into it already. In college basketball, 3 weeks from today. Thank goodness. We will go to the podium per usual. I will start per usual. I thought I was thinking of something to do all day, and I couldn't think of anything. And I'm like, right before we started this, I said, I got a great one, because it's something that's kind of funny, but just also so stupid. Robbie Anderson, former Panthers receiver. He's been there for a little bit. He's been, a decent receiver for them. And the Panthers are pretty bad. Obviously fired Matt Rule last week. They have their interim coach having trouble at quarterback with Baker Mayfield. He's hurt, and Darnold's hurt. So they had P.J. Walker, their third-string practice squad guy, start. And this guy gets into a fight, Robbie Anderson does, with the coaches on the sideline, and Steve Wilks, interim head coach, is like, dude, just get off the field, leave. And the guy, he's like, no, I'm not leaving. He's like, no, seriously, go off the field and leave. And he made him leave. He kicked his own player off of the sideline and made him leave the freaking game. This is hilarious. That's a power move. Good for Steve Wilks, because that's ridiculous. This is a grown man acting like a child. This is like Antonio Brown. Was that last year he did that crap? Insane on the same level, except he didn't take his shirt off and flash his ding-dong or anything weird like that, to my knowledge. But then today, they trade Anderson to the Cardinals, who are a dumpster fire of their own. But seriously, good for Steve Wilks and not good for Robbie Anderson. You're an idiot, dude. Don't act like a child. No more.
All right, my podium. Got the greatest sport, no offense, college football, coming up here in college hoops. And this is something that has been floated a few times in probably like the last 6 months. Maybe the last time I heard about it was May. The commissioner, especially at the ACC, Phillips, is more or less demanding that it's time for college basketball to go to a 96-game team tournament. 96-team tournament. Oh, don't worry, he says. We'll cover, and we'll give the best teams the buys, and we won't lose, the beauty is the tournament. We're not going to take away from AQs. We just want to add basically our 500 teams from the Power 5. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. That's crappy basketball to begin with. We're talking about teams that go 500 in the regular season that schedule the likes of, Furman and, San Diego State. Well, San Diego State's actually a decent mid-major. But we're talking about people who schedule crap teams, can barely scrape 500, probably go 5-11 in their own conference, and they deserve to be in the NCAA tournament. No, they don't. You're not going to make money better because people are going to say this is a joke and they're not going to watch it. The tournament is great at 68. It was a stretch for me to get to 68, honestly, but they've done a nice job of the play-in games and kind of building the drama around there and the whole last four-in routine. That they've done a good job of that. It does not need to go any further, and if it goes any further, you are going to ruin the greatest sporting spectacle on earth. You don't need more money. You got plenty coming from college football. I get it, ACC in particular. Basketball is where where you hang your hat for the most part, except for last year when your league sucked. Like, no, you're a 15-15 Clemson doesn't deserve to be in the tournament ever, unless they win the regular or the postseason ACC tournament. Then okay, that's what those tournaments are for. If you go to 96 teams, you're going to water it down. You're going to make an amazing product. Crap, don't do it. If you do it, you are going to lose fans in droves because you're going to ruin something that's perfect. All right. Going for our flag of the week. What did we just say that we were going to? Who were we going to flag?
The Tennessee GoFundMe.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we'll get to the Tennessee Alabama game and lots of facts and fun stuff in around the world spot 2. Spot 2. But let's put the fine aside. Like Ryan said, SEC for fining Tennessee. Oh, I get it. The SEC is trying to kind of like protect people and whatever. And so I get the $100,000 fine for rushing the field. I will say, every TikTok I saw, it was amazing how respectful people were being. Like I kept saying that to Ryan, and then we saw like 3 girls absolutely like fall out of the stands on top of each other. But people helped them up, whatever. It wasn't a dangerous situation in Tennessee, which was awesome. It was a celebration. I have no problem with the fine. I have no problem with Tennessee paying the fine. What we're going to flag Tennessee for is, understandably, and it doesn't happen as often anymore, but fans tore down the goalposts, and one set of them at least left the stadium. I don't think the second one ever did, but ended up in the river as tradition, but then they got it back out. They called it a baptism, not a drowning. And then they cut it up, and they gave it to people, which is the coolest thing. That would be an awesome souvenir. Better than people taking turf off the field. That's kind of crappy, but... So, okay, goalposts are about $25,000 a piece. They're not cheap, but look, a school like Tennessee, let's just do some casual math. What? I'll say probably 102,000, maybe 105,000 people there on Saturday. Let's just say the average ticket is sold for $54, at least school-wise. And it looked like it was mostly Tennessee fans. Regardless, 54 times 100 and some thousand. That's a lot of dough. And you're starting a GoFundMe page to pay for the goalposts. Now, Tennessee fans, as of yesterday, had already chipped in like 70,000, which is great. Put that towards the general thing. I don't know if this was tongue-in-cheek. I don't know if it was for real. But, I mean, come on. That is like the most asinine way to raise money, Tennessee, and to prey on the people that were having fun. Like, you don't have the money to pony up for that. When you got guys opening up their wallets to pay, what's that, quarterback's going to Tennessee next year, right? Like a 7-figure deal, NIL. Give me a break. Tennessee athletic department, you get a flag on an otherwise brilliant day.
Well, here we go. Around the world, 5 spots. We will start, as we have been all football season, with the Big Ten week in review. Let's go down the list of games that we picked. Start in Ann Arbor, Penn State, Michigan. Michigan's pretty good running the ball. Jesus Jr. isn't anything. It's all the...
He's a more athletic Cade McNamara.
I mean,
he's a sexier.
He makes it look a little more fun. But
and Michigan fans cool it already that you got to always you don't care about quote little brother, but yet you got to tell us already how Corum's way better than Walker ever was. First of all, no, he's not. He's a great running back, but Kenneth Walker didn't have the number 1 offensive line in America to run behind. Because if Kenneth Walker had the number 1 offensive line to run behind last year, it wouldn't have been a close game. We would have kicked the absolute shit out of you. So they are shut up. Let's put them head-to-head when they play in the NFL. No question, Corum is having a great season. But I think Edwards had a better game that game.
He did.
And I'm sorry, I said this all along with Penn State. And I've said this all along with Michigan. And you're beating who you're playing. I get it. You can't control that. Whatever. Penn State was overinflated. We said that, I believe, last week on the podcast. They barely beat Purdue because Purdue couldn't run the ball more than one time in the last 5 minutes. Okay, decent win because Purdue's decent for Penn State. They beat a shitty Ohio team. They went on the road and beat an awful Auburn team. Okay, it's on the road, it's SEC, I get it, for about a quarter. Then when you're playing a bad team, you're playing a bad team. They struggled for a half and then finally beat the Chippewas from Central Michigan, and they really struggled, turning the ball over 5 times, granted in bad weather, against Northwestern, who is by far the worst team in the Big Ten.
Ugh.
So, yeah, your run defense was number 5 in the country. Wholly overinflated, clearly. Now, nothing against Michigan. Effort. Hey, 400 and some yards.
Good for
I
them.
don't care what run defense you're playing, the number 129 or the number 5. That's an amazing day. Not taking a thing away from them. But before we go crown them, and one poll has them ahead of Tennessee. Are you kidding me? We're gonna like basically already, pencil them in for the Ohio State game, and none of the rest of their games matter. Guys, Penn State isn't that good. I'm looking at their schedule right now. They still have Minnesota and Ohio State at home. Okay, fine. Minnesota's on a little bit of a fail. That's a losable game. Ohio State's a loss. Okay, they go to Indiana. That probably a win. Maryland is not that bad. That's at home, so okay. And they got Rutgers and now Michigan State. Maybe we'll see what Michigan State can do. Penn State is not that good. So before we go crown Michigan as the best team ever, let's wait until their schedule has them play somebody. And honestly, minus the rivalry game in a couple weeks, that probably is not going to happen until the Illinois game and then the Ohio State game at this point in time. But that said, still, very nice win. Impressive. Certainly 41-17. Didn't see any of it. Ryan and I were tailgating. We were having our own good time in East Lansing. Probably the only bad part about when there's a home game and there's tailgating is you miss the other games.
It's all right.
Neighbors next door had a TV, but that's all right. I don't need to watch that crap anyway. But, okay, good win for you. Let's not go crowning your achievement as you're ready for the world, because I'm still not exactly sold.
No.
The team takes away your running game. Can JJ beat him through the air? I'm not so sure that he can. That's my opinion at this point in time.
Echo that.
But this is something I wanted to say. Now, this kind of leads into Michigan State down the road, but this was direct out of The Athletic yesterday. If you like watching bloodbaths, 7-0 Michigan's next 3 opponents are Michigan State, Rutgers, and Nebraska. Screw you, Stuart Mandel. That is so assumptive and garbage, especially the first one, maybe not Rutgers and Nebraska. Have you never paid attention to this rivalry with Michigan State? We all left Michigan State for dead, myself included. They had a good bounce-back game. They got a week to lick their wounds and prepare for a team who still can say all they want that they care about Michigan State. They don't. Their eyes are on the last game of the season against Ohio State. And I'm just saying, without saying, so you're saying we got a chance.
Yeah, echo that. Second game, Minnesota, Illinois. Illinois is for real, guys. We don't let this isn't a game anymore. This is a real football
Bowl
team.
eligible, 6-1, top 25.
Freaking Illinois. What do we have going?
Won 5 games in a row, and the only game they lost was Indiana, and they blew that. They should be 7-0.
Should be 7-0.
Got a bye this week, and then they play Nebraska, very winnable. They play Michigan State, probably winnable. They play Purdue at home, winnable. They play at Michigan.
Good for them.
Didn't look winnable before, but it sure does now. And then they play Northwestern. They're on the driver's seat in the West.
Good for them. I'm happy for them. They deserve it. They play really hard. They buy into their coach and the philosophy that he has. Fun football team to watch. They're pretty old school, typical. Run the ball and play good defense. And they held. I mean, Morgan got hurt. I think he's still in the hospital actually with his injury. I think
he was having like 7 for 21 before, but still he got hurt.
They held him for under 50 yards passing, the whole team. I mean, that's twice Illinois has done that already this year. That's pretty phenomenal. Good for them going to the bye week.
And Minnesota, I mean, they looked like world beaters. They hit Michigan State at the right time. I'd love a redo now because that wouldn't happen again.
Stack
but
the box.
Kudos to Illinois, Minnesota. I don't know, big week, big road trip to Penn State that can right size the season. 4-2 is not a bad record at this point in time, but I don't know.
Yeah, and then we've got Maryland, Indiana, close one. Probably because Taulia Tagovailoa, God bless that family. They've been through the ringer in the last month.
Yeah, what's the word on that? We heard about what his injury is.
No,
he was carted off the field.
I haven't even looked. I can look it up right now.
Yeah, Maryland hangs on for a 38-33 win. Indiana's lost 4 in a row. They're looking a little bit more like the team we predicted to begin with. They got that win against Illinois, and we thought, okay, and then they had barely won against Idaho and Western Kentucky, and then they have not even really been, well, that game against Maryland was close, but otherwise they haven't been close lately.
Yeah, they get nothing out of it.
Indiana is not very good. I think that just leaves our game, right?
Purdue and Nebraska.
Oh, Purdue, Nebraska.
That was
I didn't
close.
see any of that game.
Purdue won. O'Connell played well.
Purdue's
again.
finally starting to kind of turn the corner on winning
Didn't cover
close
though.
games.
We both picked them to cover, and they didn't. Yeah, Michigan State, Wisconsin. We won. First lead that we held since the Akron game. That's something.
Took a lot of quarters of football quarters to happen.
If
10 quarters.
If Michigan State was going to lose this game, it was not going to be because of their offense. That's interesting to say. Finally,
you mean their defense? Not
because of their defense, not because of their offense.
Best performance under Mel Tucker, right?
Yeah.
And the first quarterback that they didn't make look like a Heisman candidate. And Mertz is arguably, he's way more athletic than Tanner Morgan.
Yes.
He's not in the same.
He's not good.
As Stroud, but like Mertz has the tools. He doesn't have the outside weapons. Wisconsin has the running game, but Michigan State actually got stops and played defense. And I'm telling you, I probably underestimated it because Brooks was playing really well. But, moving to the 4-3. But having X back at safety was huge because he literally was putting our guys in the right spots to make plays. Like last week when I could sit there and watch and predict where Ohio State was going based on our pre-snap and what we were doing, he was putting guys in the right spot and we were making plays. And Jacoby Windmon won his 3rd Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. That's a record for, I don't know about the Big Ten, it's a record for Michigan State for sure. Had an interception, had a huge forced fumble at the end, had a tackle for loss, and he went back to his natural position of linebacker. Having Slade back in the middle on the defense was helpful because even in the rotation,
made Morrow look fantastic.
He's good. He's a space eater. He a lot of times commands a double team. He flies under the radar, but he's that good and he makes a difference. And now those guys have got a chance to get a little bit healthier yet. Didn't see Brooks at all. I presume he must have been hurt, so that hurts the depth a little bit. But Tatum stepped in and got his first start and played pretty decent at safety for Michigan State. And going to a 4-3 meant that you didn't have Van Summerman or Halliday having to cover sideline to sideline as good middle linebacker and inside linebacker types, but not outside linebackers. Like, you let the guys play their natural positions and what fits. They finally changed the defense to fit your personnel instead of forcing the personnel into the defense. So maybe much to our chagrin, it gives Scotty Hazelton a little bit of a reprieve. We still had head scratchers on defense, though. Like, how does speed let somebody get 5 yards behind them in the end zone in overtime? How do we drop one interception twice, and we dropped 2 interceptions plain as day? One probably would have been a pick 6. The second one that went through Gross's hands and then off of Brantley's chest would have been the game clincher at that point in time until Windmon kind of saved the day. But defensively, it's the first time in a long time. It wasn't perfect, but I would say I'd give Michigan State a solid A-, and I don't know that they've been above a C in their best performance in the last couple of years.
No, the defense was pretty good. I mean, I'm thinking, long term here, they get healthy, maybe Slade's going to get back to full health the next couple of weeks, hopefully. Same with
Hopefully
Henderson.
get Petrowski back.
Get Petrowski and Boggle back, and then hopefully, you get Mangum and Brooks back to healthy, and then you play that same defense, you play with that fire. I mean, that gives you somewhat of a chance to do something interesting, hopefully just stop the run and force JJ to beat you. I mean, I'm not going to say Michigan State's going to win that, but you can at least make it interesting and give us a glimmer of hope, which would be great. Offense didn't run the ball great again. Had some plays, enough. But I'm tired of Jarrett Horst, man. Pull your shirt down, you fat bastard. You waddled around, penalty after penalty, holding, personal foul.
The most egregious and ill-timed personal foul, unnecessary roughness, unsportsmanlike conduct every freaking game. Get rid of him. Bench him, Mel. You're sending a message that you don't care. And I know after the game, because we had, 9 penalties for 103 yards, you said there's penalties of, basically being stupid versus,
We had a lot
maybe
of
aggressive or whatever. A lot
John
of
L.
those were
Smith
stupid
penalties.
And Horst is
That's
the
bad coaching.
ringleader of stupid penalties. Now, Michigan State's offensive line was better.
Brown was good.
They kept Peyton pretty clean, and Peyton got to throw to the weapons that we thought they'd be all year. Well, and Reed even got to throw once to one of our other best weapons in Keon.
Yeah, Jaden and Keon
They got
were
Carr
great.
involved on the, they finally
Barker.
attacked the middle a little bit. They still need to throw to Barker more. They got Mosley. They've got it there. And Collins is finally getting carries. He had 14 carries. He deserves to be right up there. Berger was running hard against his old team. So they both had 53 and 48 yards total. That's fine. That's over 100 yards rushing. It keeps the opponent on their heels, and it keeps them honest. And then Peyton went 21 for, I think it was 28.
For 28.
We were-
Clean game, no picks, no
Yep.
fumbles.
Smart play, minus
Finally-
maybe checking into the bad third down at the end of
Then he checked
at the end
into
of
the
regular.
good one.
But then he checked into a great one with that vintage throw to Reed in the corner. That was what the doctor ordered for Michigan State. The offense looked like we expected it to look all the time, and the defense made, not marginal, but the defense made huge improvements over what they've been in the last 4 weeks. But the defense looked a little bit more like what we thought they could
Kind
be
of played
this
with
year,
some swagger
which was
that we haven't seen.
which is decent. And we never said, even in our predictions, that Michigan State's defense had to be great this year. They just had to be okay, because they sucked last year and we went 11-2. They just had to be average, be like a 65th to 70th ranked defense, and make some plays,
Yep.
and get some turnovers and change field position and things like that. The one area that is an absolute and
special
epic
teams.
failure, minus
Get
Behringer,
this-
he had some struggles with his punts, but
This Ross Ells, the special teams coordinator, should be
Like-
in the streets.
Reed had his second, and now it was really,
BS
really
call.
weak, but still. Second punt return for a touchdown called back because of a penalty for this season. Behringer had some shaky first half kicks, but then he was 54 and 63 yards in the second half. He did actually a good job on the horrible fire drill snap. I'm glad he didn't try to put it down and they tried to kick it, because they would have kicked it into somebody's face and it would have been returned for a touchdown and a loss. So he did a good job of just throwing it away. I mean, it got picked, whatever. Probably ended his Heisman chances, tongue in cheek. But the field goal kicking, I mean, they're 1 for. Well, I guess you didn't even get a kick there, but you're technically, if you count that, you're 1 for 5 this year. They can't decide. It was all, what's the guy's name? The Auburn transfer. It was all him
Patton.
and the PATs. Patton kind of has a weird way to kick, but whatever. His
We don't have a guy that can
PATs
kick
were
it through
good.
the end zone.
Your scholarship long snapper is out, and we got a guy that, when the pucker factor is at a 10, you're rushing on the field, and you expect that. That's I'm sorry,
shit
but that's
coaching.
bad coaching. On the scoreboard, it still said 1 timeout left. Never,
His
never,
clock
ever
management is
do
awful.
you pay attention to the scoreboard. I learned that when Ryan played AAU in 5th grade, is the book don't lie. Well, some coach or grad assistant or student assistant, it's their job to tell Mel, yo, Mel, you took that other timeout a couple of drives ago when we scored the, the go-ahead touchdown at the time. You have 2 left. You can't run and call your timeouts. And then, there was time. There was time, but still, your snapper felt rushed, and you saw the result. It was a joke. It was bad, and to me, that's coaching. And kickoff wise, Michigan State gave up a big kick return at one point, where at a key juncture in the game when we had taken the lead, gave Wisconsin good field position. Punt coverage is fine. Behringer's been great. Again, his average is way up there. He's doing fantastic. No complaints about him, but. Some game at some point in time, maybe even in a couple weeks, is going to come down to a field goal, and if it does, I'm really, really, really nervous that could happen. We were talking in the stands that we felt like we had to get to the 10-yard line to give our kicker range. And now I don't know. I hope he has a good leg, but man, I didn't. That's the one negative I'm going to take away is the special teams, and I still think
Clock
there's
management's awful.
it's like John L. Williams, as in John L. Smith meets Bobby Williams with some of the coaching decisions. I'm sorry, Mel, I think you're a great recruiter. I think you got a ways to go as a head coach.
Dan Campbell.
You got to get better. You got to get better. You can't put your team in that situation. You just can't.
No, you can't. But a win's a win. We'll freaking take it.
We'll take it.
I'm not going to ever complain about that. Spot 2, college football at large. Let's do Bama last. Let's go through.
There were some great games.
Clemson, Florida State ended up being close. They're down 20. Florida State came back, cut it to 6. I think their coach is safe now. Clemson's looking good though. Utah, USC. What a game!
Clemson, Syracuse, big game this week.
Yeah, 2 undefeateds. USC, Utah. Utah down, comes back, and then goes down, then comes back, and then scores a touchdown, goes for 2, gets it. Phenomenal. That atmosphere
Might
was
have
great.
killed USC's chance at a CFP.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. No one's getting out of the Pac-12. Unless it's UCLA, but I don't think they're going to go undefeated anyway. But great for Utah. I like them. I like Whittingham a lot. Great there. Oklahoma State, TCU, a classic. TCU's freaking 6-0. What the hell?
Brand new coach. Fired the coach last year that has a statue of him in front of the stadium, and went and got the rival coach who's 6-0. Crazy.
Pretty crazy. That's awesome, though. I'm happy for TCU. Ole Miss just put another nail in the coffin of Brian Harsin. There's no way he lasts through the end of this year. I'm going to say that right now. Poor guy.
Never was a fit, and
No.
yeah, just he was destined to fail there. You just don't come from the Pacific Northwest to the SEC. You just don't. I mean, guys have gone like McElwain from Colorado State to Florida, fail. Like all these, it just no. You gotta bring them up from within. Guys that are in the Saban coaching tree or that type of thing. Man,
Oklahoma scored 0 points last week. They scored 52 this week with 701 total yards of offense.
crazy.
That's
Gave up a ton, but still beat
quite
Kansas.
a flip. Beat Kansas. Who thought that was a good win at the beginning
Syracuse 6-0 for the
Six,
first
yeah.
time since 1987.
of the year? That's ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
It's actually crazy. James Madison lost to Georgia Southern. Lots of upsets this week. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 top 25 teams lost.
That's crazy.
Pretty big. But yeah, crazy week. Let's get to the biggest one of them all, though. Tennessee, Bama. By far the game of the week. Probably maybe the game of the year, to be honest with you. 52-49, an absolute instant classic.
First time since
I'm
2006 that Tennessee beat
I'm
Bama.
surprised Knoxville is still standing.
I am too.
Insane.
You had half of country music on hand. You had Peyton Manning on hand, and they usually would say Peyton Manning is the bad luck charm. Didn't they? They turned that. The way they went 45 yards in 13 seconds, and the kicker hit just like a total knuckleball, but he made it, and it didn't matter. And in an instant, that field was orange. It was
Covered.
insane.
That is
but
like-
again, a polite field rushing. Like nobody stampeded each other. It was celebratory, but it was safe and calm, which was awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty freaking spectacular.
There's a couple of things that I wrote down from the game. We didn't, unfortunately, get to see it, so I'm going to have to go try to find the recording and watch it after the fact because it was epic by all accounts. Most Alabama points allowed in over a century. The last time they allowed that many points was 1907.
No, Nick was too happy.
In the history of college football, top 3 teams were 476 and 0. 476 and 0 when scoring 49 points. Now they're 476 and 1. Tennessee snapped a 38-game top 10 AP losing streak.
Wow.
Unreal. And again, like, this is what happens when you make a good hire in Heupel, and you let things come to fruition. And they had a lot of turnover. Like when he came in, a lot of guys left the program. They lost a crazy game to Purdue last year in the Music City Bowl, and they're ahead of schedule. He's in year 2, and they're ahead of schedule. Now, will it be like a Mel Tucker year 2, and then he'll fall back to earth next year? That remains to be seen. But still, like his offense is exciting to watch. It's more of a Big 12 fit, honestly, than an SEC fit. But, I mean, they had Bama's secondary in fits, and that defense to give up 49 yards. And then somebody pointed out to me today at work too. So let's go back to last week. Richard, the kicker for Alabama, he missed 2 kicks against Texas A&M, which is why that game came down to the last play from the right hash. Ask your kicker where he wants to kick from, because he missed from 50 from the right hash against Tennessee as well. So maybe look at film with your kickers too and go, our boy might be better kicking from the left, right? Yeah, he doesn't. They're usually walk-ons, and we're seeing at Michigan State with 2 scholarship kickers that you need to get a good kicker.
It's essential to winning, especially when it's close.
But Saturday was an epic example of how great college is over the NFL, and we can get to the NFL a little bit in the scramble. But just a day like that with crazy parity, but good parity, and good teams beating good teams, but in a way that's good for the sport and not like a shock. That's what makes it so great, and that's what makes college basketball so great. And again, why I'm going to go back to they better not mess with the 68 team field, because that more isn't better. Now, I think in the CFP more is better, because then you're going to get some teams, probably not the 12 seed that's going to win it very often, if ever, but you're going to get some teams like a Tennessee wouldn't have been a top 4 team, and this is an example, maybe in the semifinals, and they knock off the number 1 or the number 2 team. That's a very good example. That type of matchup is a great example of what we're going to get in the CFP with 12 teams.
Yep. Awesome.
All right, before we move to spot 3, a quick word from our presenting sponsor. Team Anders Realty will help you find the home that best fits your needs and makes the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients over 30-plus years in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area, and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com.
Spot number 3 here. Week 8 preview. We'll go quick. There's not that many games on the docket this weekend. We'll start Big Noon. Well, they can't go to Michigan because, Michigan's not playing. I'm sure they'd still go there if they could. They go to Ohio State for Ohio State versus Iowa. 28.5 is the spread.
Really? That's more than it was in our game. It's at home, I guess.
I'm going to say Ohio State covers this with ease. I think they're going to win 35-0. 42-0, 35-0.
I don't know that. Can Iowa... I mean, Iowa has
scored... They can't score.
7, 27-27 with defensive touchdowns.
Bad
14 and 6.
It's not going to happen.
I can see a 45-10 game or whatever. Yeah, Ohio State's going to cover that.
I don't think
Ohio State's going to cover that.
IU Rutgers straight. It's at Rutgers, I believe. It's a 2-point. Rutgers is a favorite. I'm going with them because their defense is better. Both of them are terrible. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll go with Rutgers. I mean, I'm just looking at my preseason predictions, and I had Rutgers winning this game to begin with, and Indiana's lost 4 in a row, and they haven't looked very good doing it. So, yeah, I'm going to go with
this. Next one to me is a head scratcher. Wisconsin Purdue. Purdue is a 2.5 point. It's at Wisconsin, but they're still a 2.5 point dog. I think Purdue's. We're going straight here. Purdue's going to win this game. Wisconsin's bad. I don't think they're good at all.
I'm gonna differ with you just because it's at Wisconsin, and they're gonna start to say to these guys, if you want Coach Leonard to be your coach, you need to start winning. I would not be surprised at all if Purdue won. I think Purdue's playing pretty well right now. Let's see, what are they? I think they're 5-2, right? They're 5-2. They've won 4 in a row. If it was at Purdue, I would say Purdue would win, but I'm going to stick with what I picked in the preseason, which was a Wisconsin win. I think Wisconsin needs this bad because if they don't get this, they may struggle to make a bowl game. I think Wisconsin gets the win here.
All right. We've got Northwestern and Maryland. Maryland is a 13.5 point favorite. Talia's availability is to be determined, but I just think Northwestern is so bad
Maryland's got a good enough running
Then
game
Maryland
that they
can
could
win
just-
by 2 touchdowns. That's
Yeah.
all they have to win by. 14-0.
We're going spread.
Yeah.
And again, let's look at Northwestern. They beat Nebraska and scored 31. Then they scored 23, 24, 14, 7, 7. That trend is not going in the right way. Maryland doesn't have a great defense. It's at Maryland. Northwestern is coming off of a bye week. A lot will matter. Tagovailoa plays or not, but I'll ride with that. I'll say Maryland will cover that.
Penn State, Minnesota. Penn State's a 4.5-point favorite. I think that they win this by a touchdown.
Yeah, boy.
It's at
Here's the
home.
thing. Minnesota, I think, arguably has the best running back in the Big Ten. Sorry, Blake Corum. But their quarterback that came in that played for Morgan was 2 for 6 with 2 picks against Illinois.
Not good.
And if Morgan's still out and is not going to, unless they're going to run Wildcat the whole game, Penn State's going to give up yards to Ibrahim, but I'll go with Penn State as well. It would not surprise me again in this case if Minnesota won, but without a quarterback, even if he's not that flashy, your regular 6th-year guy,
Yeah,
Penn State's
that's a
going to
lot of experience.
I kind of honestly hope Penn State loses because I'd like to see,
Them implode.
like they did about this time last year, but whatever. We'll go with Penn State.
Syracuse, Clemson. Clemson's a 13.5-point favorite at home. I'm going to say that they blow out Syracuse and make a statement.
I think Syracuse covers.
Really?
Yep.
All right. And then we got 2 NFL games here. The Lions, Cowboys. Lions coming off a bye. Dak
Cowboys.
Prescott's back. I'm going
Cowboys.
Cowboys. You're going Cowboys as well.
Dak Prescott may actually give the Lions a better chance, but
Cooper Rush has pooped last night.
I heard that they're calling Ryan to play a little bit of defensive back this week, a position he's never played before. So that's how bad the Lions are. There's no way. There's no way.
Then Chiefs Niners. I'm going with it's like a 3-point spread for the Chiefs straight up. I'm going Chiefs.
Yeah.
49ers did not look great.
Chiefs will get back. They'll get off the snide. They lost a tough game to Buffalo yesterday, but 49ers looked awful against the Falcons. It's hard to travel all the way to the East Coast and play this 1
Well, they
o'clock
could beat
games
the
like that,
Lions.
but still, Chiefs are going to win that game.
Cool.
Too many weapons.
Oh, and by the way, for those keeping track at home, we're both 51 and 35 on our picks this season. Not terrible.
Respectable, just under 60% correct. So
We've
that means you should be in the plus money category if you're riding any of our picks for bets.
If you're not doing 30-game parlays.
If you would have done as I said a couple weeks ago and put your 401k on Ohio State to cover, you'd be set for the season.
Should have listened. All right, back to the old spot 4. We're going to get back into Big Ten basketball previews. Media Days was wrapped up last week. First AP Top 25 poll came out today. We'll maybe talk about that here in a minute. But interesting stuff. I'm going to do 3 teams again. This is in no particular order. I just had a stack of papers that I was doing stuff on, and this is the 3 that I grabbed. And I grabbed the Purdue Boilermakers off there for my first team. So I'm looking at them. Last year, if you remember, they were pretty dang good. What were they? 3 seed, right? Or were they 4?
No, 3 seed. Lost to
3 seed,
Fairfield.
made to the Sweet 16, lost to St. Peter's.
Or St. Peter's.
Had Jaden Ivey, who was a top 5 pick in the draft. Had Traven Williams, who's a 4-year guy. He's gone. Zach Edey returns. They lose a few other guys. And Stefanovic, a shooter, and then Eric Hunter transferred to Butler. So they have a little different roster coming to this year than they did last year. returning that played last year, Zach Edey. He's obviously the headliner, huge guy. His per 40 minutes are pretty insane. He's only playing like 15, 16 minutes a game last year. Would just expect him to play probably 25 plus and probably do a decent job of it if his conditioning is there. And then you got Mason Gillis, a guy who's kind of been in and out of their starting lineup the last couple years. He's a good glue guy in the Big Ten. Nothing special. He can knock down an open 3 or 2. Plays decent defense, rebounds, kind of brings that the glue mentality, facilitator mentality. He's a bigger guy, 6'6", 6'7", on the wing there. And then Brandon Newman, a guy that I think his freshman, or no, it was not his freshman year, 2 years ago during COVID, he wasn't bad. He played a decent amount, and then last year kind of took a step back, wasn't great. Expecting big things out of him. For them, probably going to play the 2. They need him to do well because I mean they got a lot to fill in for after, like I said, losing Ivy and Stefanovic and Hunter. They need him. And Caleb First, a guy I actually liked last year's that lefty 6'8" 4-man ginger guy from Fort Wayne. He's a good player. I think he's going to be a 4-year guy for them. Expect him to take a big jump, stretch the floor a little bit. Then Ethan Morton, he's been a decent role player for them the last few years, kind of a decent shooter, but nothing spectacular. But we'll see what happens with those guys. This is their 5 real returners, which is kind of crazy. Bart Torvik thinks they'll be about 28th in the country, finishing 10th offense, 65th defense. They have a decent strength of schedule, 33rd, projecting them about a 7 seed with a 76% chance of making the tournament. Projected record of 20 and 9, 12 and 8 in the Big Ten, so pretty good. Not maybe what they've been doing the last couple of years, but still respectable. And they only return 39.5% excuse me, of their minutes. But yeah, I mean, I think their lineup will probably look like Edey, First, Gillis, Newman, Morton, the guys I listed before. And then they have some guys coming off the bench here. It could be decent. They got this guy, David Jenkins. He's a Utah transfer. I would expect him to probably play starter minutes. He's a point guard. I think he's a lefty, if I'm not mistaken. They need him to be good because they don't have a ton of proven guys, and he's proven it at a decent level. Their recruiting class is okay. 6th in the Big Ten, middle of the pack. Got some 4 stars. They got a 3-star guy, Braden Smith, point guard, 5'10". Don't know if he'll play a ton, but it's all right. Cam Heide, 6'5", small forward. Then Fletcher Lawyer, 6'4", shooting guard. He can play a little point guard as well. A little bigger than his brother. The guy that I'm interested to see is Trey Kaufman-Renn, though. This guy, he sat out last year, redshirted because he was hurt. He's a pretty good recruit in the 2021 class. I would expect him to probably play big minutes as well, and be kind of key for them moving forward. Look at their schedule. Gavitt games, they play Marquette, who's not bad, but not great. And then they play in the PK85, play West Virginia first, who's not going to be anything special. Then win that, which I'm guessing they would. They play Gonzaga. Sorry, guys. And then I'm not really sure who's on the other part. I think Duke is on the other side of that bracket. Florida State in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Florida State's probably going to be a good squad. They play Davidson in the Indy Classic. That's interesting. Davidson is going to be good, but not as good. Lost McKillop. Then Hofstra, not a bad mid-major team in their Big Ten schedule. Tough. I mean, the Big Ten is going to be pretty even, in my opinion, like I said last week. But I'm thinking, pretty decent season for Purdue. I'm, anywhere from 2nd to 6th in the Big Ten, probably 5 to 8 seed. I give their schedule about a B. Some tough schools in there, but nothing crazy. They play freaking Florida A&M, New Orleans, and Truman State. What the hell is that? Is that even a school? Is that a Division I school?
I've never heard of it.
Austin P, where they have never done anything in basketball. Milwaukee, they have had 8 coaches in the last 5 years. But that's Purdue. Look for them to be decent. They always are. Painter, we've said for a long time, is one of the best coaches in the Big Ten, if not the country, and expect him to get the most out of his roster, as he always does. We're going to the East Coast now. The Terps bring in new head coach Kevin Willard. He looks like a turtle, kind of, because he's bald.
Does?
I don't know. They always have Turgeon look like a turtle. What's going on?
Kind of look like the mascot.
If you remember correctly, Maryland was not very good last year. They had some good talent, but they were not great. They didn't win a lot of games. From their roster last year, they lose Fats Russell, who was one of their better scorers, good defender. They lose Ayala, who was there for 20 years. They lost what's his name? Qadis Wahab. He transferred back to Georgetown. I don't know why. He's weird. He didn't end up being great for them. But they just weren't great. Not very efficient on both sides of the ball. That's why Turgeon left, and then Danny Manning, they weren't great, so that's why they brought in Willard, he did good things at Seton Hall, had some good seasons in there. And he returns a decent amount of good players here. I mean, their number one return is Donta Scott. If you 6'8", big-bodied guy, can shoot it a little bit. He's got a post-up game. Definitely their most experienced, and by far, I think their best player. Then Hakeem Hart. He's also been kind of a nice player for them. He's also 6'7", 6'8", and he's on the wing, a little more athletic, skinnier guy. Expect those two to really shoot the ball a lot, have the ball in their hands a lot. And then you got Julian Reese, who I think has a chance to break out. He's a pretty big kid. He's 6'9", 6'10", 230, lefty, pretty athletic. Didn't play a ton last year, but I would expect him to play a good amount, maybe even start for them. And then Ian Martinez, he played a tad bit last year. I think a former Utah guy. He's okay, not great. Bartorvik thinks 51st, while the 44th best offense, 60th best defense. Strength of schedule is 37. Gives him about a 44% chance to make the tournament, double-digit-ish. 18-12 is what they say. 11-9 in the Big Ten, returning 46.8% of their minutes. That's a little more bullish than I am on them. I think they'll be okay, but not that good. But and they bring in a few decent guys here. I'm just looking at this roster here. I mean, they bring in this guy Jameer Young. So he was a high teen scorer at Charlotte on a bad team, but still a guy that can score. He's a point guard. He's gonna have the ball in his hand a lot. Expect a little Fats Russell kind of guy of treatment for him. He's not very big though, 6'1", 185. Some of the point guards in this Big Ten are pretty big. Then Noah Bachelor, he is their number one best recruit. 3-star, 6'6", wing. He's a shooter. I've heard that he's pretty dang good. Then they bring in Donald Carey. I think he was a decent role player for Georgetown. He's 6'5", point guard / shooting guard. Nothing special, but he brings experience for them, which is what they need. Then they have Jahari Long. He's a former Seton Hall guy. Didn't play a ton for them. Then a few other random guys in there as well that have not really played much. So we'll see. The depth of the big position is my concern for them. They have a few guys from outside the United States that have never played, and they're really ugly. I'm looking at their pictures right now. Holy crap. Like they should be playing for Michigan. But I think that this team is, like I said, they'll be okay. I think that in a couple years, Willard can build them up. I feel like he's a good recruiter, can get them on the right track. He knows the East Coast. Their schedule's nothing crazy. They're playing the Hall of Fame tip-off. They play St. Louis first, who I think is going to be very good. I have them, and I created a top 25 the other day, and I had them in my top 25 preseason. I think they'll be a good squad, good A-10 team, and then they could play Miami or Providence. Providence won't be as good as last year. Miami projected to be a pretty decent team toward the top of the ACC. And they got Louisville, who's probably going to be at the bottom of the ACC. Tennessee, who's a top 25 team to start the season. Then UCLA, top 10 team, plays St. Peter's. That's kind of funny. And UMBC as well. So some decent mid-majors in there, actually. Give that about a B+. Big Ten schedule. I think Michigan State only once. Michigan a couple times in January. It looks like Illinois only once. So they kind of luck out there. Indiana only once too. Jeez. Well, they got a good deal there. Actually, good for them. But I think they'll finish anywhere from 6th to 10th in the Big Ten. I think they'll be a bubble team. Don't think they'll get in though. Somewhere around 500, maybe a little over, would probably be a good season for them, and then build off of it for next year. Third and final of today, the Golden Gophers, Ben Johnson, year 2. They had some good things last year that happened for them, but also bad. Just weren't great. just kind of patch together a roster. But I think Ben Johnson's the right guy for the job. I think he's going to be a good coach for him. He knows what he's doing. Unlike Richard Pitino, I think he was kind of a trash bag. But if you remember correctly, Minnesota was pretty poor last year. One of the worst teams probably in the Power 6 in basketball. They returned really only 2 guys that played key minutes for him last year, and that's Jamison Battle, who I think has a chance to be an all Big Ten level guy, tough lefty. He can shoot it, and he's going to shoot the ball freaking lot. I mean, he can shoot threes, step out, pretty athletic. Expect him to probably shoot 20 shots a game, and that's probably putting it lightly. But he's a good player. And then they got Trayton Thompson. I can't remember last year. I think that he was a freshman last year. He's 7 foot, real skinny though, 210. He's all right, not bad. But Bartorovic agrees with me that they're not going to be great. Probably still toward the bottom of the Big Ten. 122nd in the country, 107th in offense, 144th in defense. Basically gives them no chance to get in the tournament. 0.4%. Ouch. Projects the record to be about 13-17. Returns 20.9% of their minutes, and most of that's probably Battle because he played 40 minutes a game, almost every single game, unless he's in foul trouble. They do have some decent newcomers, though. Big recruiting class, including transfers. A bunch of 3-star forwards. Some of them are going to play. Ola Joseph, I've heard good things about him. Read that. Caden Betts, he's a 6'8", small forward. He'll probably play a decent amount. And then you got some transfers. Terrace Samuels, he's a former point guard from Dartmouth. 6'3", so decent size for a point guard there. He's tough. And Talon Cooper, he was on Morehead State. He was a starting point guard the last few years. He's 6'4". Decent player. Can that translate to the Big Ten? Who knows? Parker Fox, this guy I think he was maybe a 2-time All-American. D2 was Player of the Year, and then he tore his ACL this summer. He's out for the season. He's probably going to be a 3 or 4-man stretch guy. Former Players of the Year in Division II have done well.
The big guy from Ferris did really well
at Xavier. Yeah, and then they bring in, this is definitely their most important newcomer, a guy. Third school in 3 years. Dawson Garcia started at Marquette, was great. Transferred to North Carolina, was doing pretty well from close to a double average. He's a 6'11" forward, pretty bouncy lefty. 235, so he's got decent size to him. And then he left for personal reasons. One of his family members got sick back in Minnesota, and then he ends up transferring to Minnesota, and I think him and Mr. Battle are going to probably play 40 minutes a game and be the headliners for them. He's tough, but not tough enough to make Minnesota any better than 10th to 14th in the Big Ten. No tournament. Look at their schedule here. I don't think it's anything special. I said C- initially. I mean, they played Western the first game, was pretty terrible. DePaul and the Gavitt games. Yeah, they played Virginia Tech, who's not terrible. Mississippi State, plus the Big Ten. So nothing special. I'm not expecting big things out of the Gophers just yet, but maybe in a couple years. They just got a top 30 recruit for 2023 that's 7-1 today. So maybe he'll help turn the tide for him a little bit. Who knows? But that's the Big Ten preview. Or what was that? 6 out of 14 done. Maybe I'll do a few more next week as we get closer and closer to hoops, which we're happy about. But Spot 5 scramble. What do you got? You want me to do my thing quick, or you want to do that? Then we can.
I can go, and then you can do your stuff. So just some random thoughts. Baseball. Ryan kind of talked about in his intro a little bit. My National League pick to get out of the National League into the World Series, the Dodgers, is done. Good for the Padres. It's kind of nice to see some new blood. Padres-Phillies, that'll be a good series. I'm kind of hoping the Indians win tonight against the Astros. The Astros are the one mainstay. They've hit 6 ALCSs in a row. They got to be the favorite to win right now. Some people complaining about, the wild cards, they ruined it. It should be an indication of the whole season. Hey, no, look, these aren't one-game series. You had a 3-game series in the wild card round, then you had a 5-game series it's legit that you have to win. It's not a one game and done thing. So the cream should rise to the top, and hey, these teams just played better. I mean, the Phillies swept the Braves. It's just that's kind of how the ball bounces. So be interesting to kind of keep an eye on that. Interesting development last week. I mentioned Ian Cole for Tampa Bay, really good defenseman, and how he was being held out for investigation that he had what was the word that I used? Groomed some minor, sexually groomed some minor and some pretty egregious charges against him. So far, anyway, the NHL and all the people that have investigated found no evidence of that, which is come on, you cannot mess, you can't put yourself in his situation if it is true, and you can't be the girl who accused the guy, then this didn't happen when it's not true. That is bad. The accuser should go to prison if she really truly was nothing but an accuser, ambulance chaser, money chaser, whatever. So, just wanted to point that out. Wings off to a good start, 2-0. They are losing now 3-2 to the Kings. I just checked, and Tyler Bertuzzi is out 4 to 6 weeks, which is tough with an abdominal injury or so. But kind of nice to see the Red Wings do well right out of the gate. Let's hope that they'll do well. Interesting. This is how little I've paid attention to hockey since the Red Wings haven't been good. I didn't realize they got rid of really the conferences. I mean, they have the conferences. They have the Eastern and the Western, and they don't have divisions anymore. That's kind of crazy. At least the way that I looked at the standings. Could be wrong. All right. NFL-wise, a little bit of a crazy day yesterday. Packers, ouch. Oh. That's the Jets get some credit for their defense, but how bad is Green Bay? They lost that was a 15-game win streak at home, ended. West Coast teams coming East Coast got smoked. The 49ers, like Ryan said, the Cardinals are kind of a you-know-what show. Kenneth Walker, K9, repped out, had a big game for the Seahawks yesterday.
Vikings dominant. Top of the freaking NFC North.
They got a 2-game lead, I think, right now, which is crazy.
Oh.
And they're 3-0 already against the NFC North. So, Giants are good. It's crazy. Some crazy.
Steelers beat the
Browns
Bucks.
Are awful.
Good, serves you right, Tom. You loser.
Yeah, I mean, just NFL. Yesterday was kind of an equally
Bills,
crazy
Chiefs,
day for the NFL.
sweet.
Bills Chiefs was a great game.
Awesome.
Eagles Cowboys was a good game on Sunday night. Remains to be seen if tonight's anything decent.
Oh, yeah, well, no, the Broncos are already up 10-0, and I freaking bet the Chargers.
I had the Chargers too.
Yeah, of course.
Well, as long as who scored for them. If it was Jerry Jeudy, I'm all right.
Oh, it was Dolch or something.
All right. Couple more things. I'll let Ryan get to his thing. I got to ask, when did pickleball become a major league sport?
Yeah, pickleball's fun.
A major league sport. That's crazy.
Fastest growing sport in America.
How about the Bills player that drove 15 hours to play against the Chiefs because he couldn't fly because he had a partially collapsed lung? Which begs the question, why was he allowed to play? He couldn't fly because he had a partially collapsed lung, but he could play with a partially collapsed lung? That makes no sense to me. And another NCAA basketball thing, which I thought was pretty cool, we won't get into it, maybe we can later, but is John Calipari is advocating for a college basketball summer league. Athletic article that came out back on October 12th, kind of interesting. Guys are on campus anyway, let them play a little bit of exhibition. Maybe you can kind of do these scrimmage type matchups with the big programs and see some battles that you might not see. Kind of an interesting thought. So that's it for me for the scramble this week.
Yeah, interesting. I can do my little spiel here, then we can talk about the AP poll quick. My segment, butt burners. Who's on their fire this week? Well, Michigan State, if they want a new defensive coordinator next year, they could get Marcus Freeman.
Oh man, we didn't even talk about Notre Dame. They lost to Stanford and Marshall at home this year.
Lord, that's bad news. That's not good. Second one, Dodgers. Their manager said, "Yeah, we'll get that ring, whatever." He kept saying that all year long. Shut up, dude! You lost.
Best team in baseball.
Best team in baseball. Nothing again. They have nothing to prove for it. Third one. This has just been an ongoing thing. Thursday night football. Get your together. It's been terrible.
That's a giant butt burner.
It's been horrible. Amazon's paying all that money. That's
and when the problem as a fan when you're watching on Amazon is you can't just flip commercials. because you got to flip out of your app and you got to go. Like, it's a pain in the butt.
Not
I don't know.
cool.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
Stock up. Josh Heupel, big time. Obviously, talked about that big win. Stock up. The Jets, Robert Salah. They look damn good. They're playing
Defense is
hard.
great. They had
Defense is good.
3 blocked kicks yesterday.
Yeah, they're doing great. Zach Wilson, hide your wife, hide your mom.
3-0 as the starter this year.
Yes, Pete. And last but not least, do we have a little Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe 2.0 with Bailey Zappi and Mr. Mac Jones going on here? This guy's dominating.
Yeah, 309 yards
Wow,
passing yesterday.
good for him.
Crazy.
Former Houston Baptist quarterback.
Gonna put Hoyer on the shelf.
Yep. Well, he shouldn't be in there anyway. He's old as hell.
He is old.
That's it for this. Top 25. North Carolina's 1. Not a surprise. Gonzaga's 2. Houston 3. I like that. Who's up? The Duke's overrated. Freaking number
Always.
7. I mean, yeah, they're talent, but their coach
Let's see what
has
Shire
never
can do as a coach.
done jack. Creighton, highest ever preseason AP poll rating, 9th. I think that's warranted. They're a good team. Arkansas 10. Yeah, they're going to be good. That's a good team. Tennessee's a little overinflated. I think they're 11. Same with Texas 12. Indiana 13. No. Freaking Virginia back in the good graces here. San Diego State's 19th. Michigan 22nd. That's freaking overrated. That's not even because I'm a Michigan State fan. They return one guy that's played meaningful minutes at high level college basketball consistently. So I don't know how that warrants a 22nd ranking. But whatever. Illinois 23rd. I buy it. Dayton 24th. Tech 25th. I don't know if Tech should be ranked, but whatever. St. Louis, I thought they should. I think they'll be good. I said that earlier. I think they should be ranked. Michigan State, I think it was that 26, 27.
Like 28th, I think, or so.
31st. So I'm excited. 3 weeks out. But we go to the sprint. I'm running it again. I don't know if we've talked about this before. Did like a Mount Rushmore or something, but I was just thinking about it earlier. Who's your in your mind? Who's the most hated sports franchise across all sports?
Most hated sports franchise against. Oh boy. I gotta go Yankees.
That's what I said.
I gotta go Yankees.
Everyone
That's
hates
a
the
love or hate, but it's mostly
Everyone
a
hates
hate.
them.
Everybody outside of New York, it's a hate.
What is one college basketball arena that is on your bucket list to watch a game in? Doesn't matter what if it's your team.
Assembly
or not.
Hall, Bloomington, Indiana.
That's what I have. You copied me. Who is the most overrated team in the first AP poll of the season?
I wasn't paying that close of attention, but I struggle with the preseason polls. I know
It's
what they're
tough.
there for.
It's
I
better
would-
for
I-
basketball because there's more turnover.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. The polls really matter even less in basketball anyway. Like week to week, nobody talks about the polls that much. I think it's interesting that the Big Ten only has 3 or 4 teams in it. I do agree with you though that Michigan, even at 22, is overrated with only one proven player back.
Yeah, I said Duke just because I don't
Yeah,
think they're
it's
great.
fair.
Last one. Should Tua sit out the rest of the season?
In my opinion, maybe not the rest of the season, but certainly more than like coming back this week.
He's supposed to come back this week.
From what I saw and from my own personal experience with Ryan, who had nothing nearly like that, and how long he was out and the side effects that he dealt with, I really struggle to believe that he's truly ready. I do. I'm not there. I'm not the doctor, but he should at least sit out probably, in my opinion, 4, 5, 6 more weeks.
I agree. That's it.
All right, give us some social media.
Yeah, no one cares about our social
Yeah,
media.
they do. Got to throw it out there anyway.
Founscore35 on Twitter. I don't know what.
AG Spartan Fan 35 on TikTok.
Yeah, those are the two. Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Hit the like button.
Pound
Follow
that
us.
like button.
Whatever podcast that you like. Pass it along to friends. We'll have a little bit of fun next week. We won't have a full-blown preview like we did last year because that game was like basically the biggest game in the rivalry last year.
Not quite there. We're happy as Michigan State fans to fly under the radar going into next week, but plenty on that next week. Another shout out to our presenting sponsor and good neighbors and friends, the Anders, Team Anders Realty. If you have West Michigan realty needs, get a hold of Team Anders at teamanders.com. Meantime, greatest play in college football history.